Man, the game sounds have been so low this entire time and no one told me. Oh, I'm glad you guys haven't cared. Hopefully they're better now, though. It's best of 5 finals for the North American Open Cup. Yes, you read that right. We are on the European server. Bless whoever woke up Monday and saw that the patch wasn't out on 2 out of 3 servers and fixed it after the European Open Cup, but before the North American Open Cup. Bless. In the bottom left, it is Sidestorm Gaming's MaxPax. And in the top right, it is Team Liquid's Clem. So this is the real deal. This is the real test. PvT, in my opinion, is what people are most interested in seeing. Because I would certainly argue, I don't even think it's an argument, I think it's a fact, that this was the only real concern leading up to the patch. The main concern was that PvT was slightly better for Terran, particularly when it came to the Raven usage and the timings there. That was it. That was basically it. If the game changed a little bit, well, that's cool too, but, you know, maybe take a light approach, because you don't want to break the game balance-wise, you don't want to break the game programming-wise. And, you know, the game is in a really good state. If anything, you just, you take away the Raven power a little bit, maybe EMP power a little bit, sure, I'll give that one up. And then change the maps. You guys helps too. Because the game was doing pretty well. Not only did we have relative balance amongst the 3 races, but we also had continued development of metas. All around. Protoss were still trying their damnedest to actually figure out how to do things in this matchup. MaxPax was managing to combat Terrans on a more common basis, I guess. Like Clem, him, and MaxPax starting to actually go back and forth. You had the 2 racks development in TVZ. And I think Dark was doing good things about promoting, Roach Infester before the patch as well in ZVT. It felt like a good place, that's all I'm saying. But they didn't. They changed it. They changed it completely. They not just tried to address Protoss's imbalance problem, which most people have agreed they failed on, but then they decided to throw a wrench into things and say, this is the time. This is the most beautiful time in the world, 2023, after Blizzard has officially given up on us, and we have probably given up on ourselves. This is the time to make mech work. And I will try to hold off on my complaints overall for my casts, but I just really do not agree with that approach. However, we're here, and TvP is still the one that's being looked at the most under the microscope, where the next most paid attention to thing, I suppose, is maybe Banelings versus Bio, which you didn't see TV today, but still. So I'm really curious. MaxPax loves his 4 gates. Clem and him have been combating each other on the European server often these last 3 months. Still majority in Clem's favor, but most recently it has gone back and forth topsy-turvy as well. It's not a hotly contested 3-2 or 3-1 every single series. It's rather 3-0, 3-0, 3-2, 3-0, 3-1, 3-2. Like, one guy doesn't even make it, It's been all over the place. And the only reason I'm really fascinated by that is that MaxPax, for the most part, plays pretty much the same every single time. Now, the one thing he's doing very differently is going for 3-gate instead of 4-gate. He did this last week. It was one of the first times he religiously did this, because otherwise he was always 4-gate. It was either a 4-gate, a Stargate opener, or like the proxy gate opener that he was doing. And he kind of got rid of his DT opener. Then last week he said 3-gate might do the trick. It still gives me the attempt to pressure, but better macro. And it really worked. It worked out wonderfully. So he's still doing that, though. But and that's, again, why I'm so fascinated by their dynamic, is that MaxPax generally picks something to do that you would think someone would be able to figure out and deal with easier as time went on. But every time Clem seems to be dealing with MaxPax totally A-okay, no problem. He went on a 4 best-of win streak against the guy. Suddenly, MaxPax pops up and just wins 3-0 against him. And you're just like, the whiplash. So that's what fascinates me about these 2 individuals. So far, I've not been fascinated by too much in this game. We got a typical Wood of Mine drop after a Cyclone was built. Of course, you don't need a tech lab for it. You do not have the Interference Matrix, the upgrade, on the way. And apparently we will not. It's not going to bother with the interference matrix. Colossus will make an appearance, and I feel like Clem should still bother with it, actually. But he decides not to. He's going to try and, of course, protect himself against the potential of a 4 gates. He has not 100% determined it is only 3. It's very hard to do that. And it was only last week in which MaxPax started to do a 3 gate every time. So with the 3 gate, you can dedicate to soccer production, and it can still overwhelm. There is a chance someone who goes 3 gate and warps in every chance they get does actually win with it. Very unlikely, though. Basically will only happen if the Terran player has completely forgotten about the possibility of them being attacked. You know, they don't open up with a single tank, maybe. But then the 3 gate, even if it's not used to overwhelm and snowball, you can still do moves like this. Oh, it didn't kill the Cyclone. Hello? That was a lot of Stalkers. And the Cyclone's even more vulnerable now. How did that not... How did that not kill it? I'm calling shenanigans on behalf of the Protoss on that one. Whatever. And the 4 Stalkers and a Warp Prism. Obviously still one-shotting Marines and SCVs, very annoying. It still gives you the map presence of the Warp Prism as well as the Stalkers in the front lines, but you get so much quicker into that 3rd Nexus and Colossus. You get over that bridge between the aggression and the macro game a lot smoother than when MaxPax would dedicate to the 4 gate, because I think that's what he's eventually acknowledged, if I may be so bold to say I understand MaxPax. I think he's a guy who believes strongly in his ability to prove others wrong. He does his build, and he works on it, and he works on it, and he works on it, and he perfects it. And he's been doing that for the last 2 years with the 4 gate, and I think he's finally said, you know what, 3 gate sounds a little bit better. And he might be right about that. The 4 gate was starting to lose him more games, particularly against Clem, than they were winning. If we average everything out. Stalkers are getting a little divided. It's a little more awkward for the Terran. Again, the Raven does not have an interference matrix. It could have. 50-50 upgrade that's fairly fast on something that you already get a tech lab for. I'm really surprised he didn't get it. But, you know, whatever. So the Raven's not being particularly useful. It's trying to auto-turret harass in the main. Interference matrix here feels like it would have done a world of good. Look, I'm not saying it, but I'm saying it. I'm better than Clem. He should really follow my advice. 3 Colossus, still not enough to, I mean, taking out a tank and this many Marauders is always difficult to do, but 3 tanks should be enough. 3 Colossus should be enough. Overcharged as they are, the tank getting shots that ultimately do not matter. And Clem's first attack onto the field is not good, and generally when this happens, I would say Clem loses the game. If Clem cannot win prior to the, I guess, 9 minutes, let's just throw that number out there. Let's say 9 minutes, he tries his first attack, Raven or no, and it doesn't work, and it really doesn't work. I mean, that was a hard stop. I do feel like Clem loses these games. Looks like a big old Widow Mine drop coming through on the 3rd base. No cannon, just a shield battery, and the probes are pulled. MaxPax doing the appropriate thing. He just took out the tanks of his opponent. There's nothing guarding against the Colossus range other than a good old-fashioned concave, which Clem is capable of getting. But, well, I say that. I don't actually think that's true. Apparently he can't. This is not a very concavable defensive 3rd base. You either go through your ramp, which I mean is a big ramp, but it's still a choke, or you go through this choke, or you, it's difficult. Colossus definitely abusing not just their usual abuse, but also, in particular, the map. There's a lot of Marauders, but not a lot of Medivacs. Only 2 Vikings, hardly chipping away at the Colossus. Warp Prism now involved. Upgrades even, by the way, for Colossus. Pretty good number to have. And the Marauders are not all healed up. But it looks like just the sheer number of Marauders and the knowledge of a reinforcing Terran, right? They could be coming in from multiple directions and you don't quite know that, is enough to scare MaxPax off. 6 more Marauders, especially if they come in from a second angle, is considerable. The Colossus Stalker army is vulnerable. It's a glass cannon composition, I suppose you could say. Stompy J, thank you for the 2 months. MaxPax making sure not to give up all the map control, continuing to use the map to his advantage as well, which is looking a little choky. It's not the worst chokes, just to be super clear, but it is looking a little... It's looking good for a player like MaxPax. That's the best way I could put it. What of Mine's not discovered is a little awkward. Has to sacrifice his soccer for it. Zealots in the main base, not doing a whole heck of a lot. 6 SCVs ain't terrible. The new EMP is here, as well as the new Disruptor. So the new EMP, many have said it just reverted back to its like pre-patch. And it's kind of true, I guess. But yeah, EMP's not as effective. And the Disruptor is now 1 more supply and a little bit smaller. That's basically its biggest differences. The Immortal currently has a bug that favors the Protoss, in which the Immortal's Hardened Shield activation kind of just soaks up infinite damage, apparently. And what else do we got going on here? Remember that Vikings have been more microable for 8 months, all right? Let's just like not forget the Terran imbiness of the last patch. Okay. But seriously, I can't think of anything else for the new patch right now. We might eventually get shield upgrades, which are cheaper too. That's all we got. Great. So EMP will no longer blanket most of the Protoss army. It used to blanket all of it with the upgrade, then it was kind of most, and now it's, I guess, some. Sure. It is to encourage mid-game storm usage, but I think that was, 1, already happening, and 2, isn't enough, because it definitely doesn't encourage, I think, late-game storm. It's still a pretty effective spell that you can get many of if you're going into 4 base versus 4 or 5 base versus 5. I do like the addition of Immortals, as long as they have their bug. I'm not really certain about choosing them over Disruptors. I haven't been for the last year, I guess. Disruptors are going to be at a heftier cost supply-wise, though. I mean, that extra supply, when you're not maxed out, doesn't feel like anything, perhaps. But when you're maxed out and you realize you have 4 less Disruptors, like, it feels probably, you know, you're not replacing anything else, just more supply, right? Una Dinosaur, I think of the 2 months. You know, Clem might actually get the upgrade. Clem's army is now a lot better. It's got Medivacs, well, not still that many, to be honest, but it's got plenty of Vikings. 2 upgrades as well. MaxPax just barely able to complete 2-1. There's the EMP, and you can see that it really wasn't all that big. Vikings go for the 1 Colossus, and they find success. The Colossus are almost guaranteed to die. It's a matter of how much damage they do in return before they fall. (3-2) starts up for the Protoss. 3-3 already on the way for Clem, who's playing into that late game. 4 bases, 5 almost on the way. Plenty of extra orbitals and command centers. So you got dancing around from the Disruptors, but shield battery overcharge, hell of a drug, hard to pierce through. The Vikings just taking their chance to kill another Colossus, but like I said, it's not really about them anymore. MaxPax is replacing them with Disruptors. Also got DTs in the main base. They do have Blink, but that is a pretty nice EMP. However, blinking on top of the army, definitely the way to go. And in fact, MaxPax also blinking on top of the main army with his Stalkers. Now, where the hell is Colossus? On the wrong side of town. This went all types of wrong for MaxPax, or did it? Is this still gonna work out? Those Colossus had no business helping out, but apparently they did. The rest of the army doing work. Clem now in a lot of trouble, still has not dealt with the main base, losing SCVs, losing positioning on the map, and forced to retreat from his 5th base. Now, if he stabilizes, he has plenty of command centers. He will be able to double and triple expand after this. But right now, he is in trouble. Widowmines pop off to no avail. Planetary not going to be gunned down particularly easily, even with 5 Immortals here. When the SCVs get repairing like that, that is a dangerous decision for the Protoss to make, and I think MaxPax chose wisely. Do not commit. War Prism is still alive, so unfortunately the Liberators will not be the end-all, be-all of the defense. MaxPax decides to double down on the harassment in the main. He'll at least grab 2 Liberators, a handful more SCVs, more distraction, and more reinforcements that aren't on the front lines, as we have gotten up to now 7 Immortals. MaxPax also happily on his 5th base, although not quite saturated. He has plenty of probes to do so when he's got the time. Finishing up his own upgrades soon as actually... Oh! Oh, the engineering base were targeted. Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. MaxPax. He killed both he killed the upgrades. He killed both of them. I didn't even notice. I thought they finished. My bad. Clem hopefully has noticed, but he has not yet rebuilt his engineering base, so I don't know if he did. He might think he has 3-3. Uh-oh. Well, he definitely doesn't. Fortunately, he's still only behind 1 upgrade, not 2. Disruptor's gonna go for the shot, not gonna get it. Neither is the second one. Third one actually was on the wrong side of town. And I actually kind of confused what happened there, but we'll talk about that later. The bio is on the run. Clem is in trouble, and it does look like with the supplies being what they are, that Clem is actually dead. Army supplies aren't that different, I suppose, and Clem has the ability to remake the SCV difference. He's down by almost 30, but he could remake that. He's got 6 orbitals, a planetary, and a baseless command center. The weird thing was that the disruptor shot and it looked like it popped on the immortal, but then the immortal took no damage and didn't have its hardened shield popped. I either mistook the wrong disruptor and it got sniped, or... And you can't cancel it, right? Like... Can someone double check that? Can someone check my sanity on that one? Is the immortal bugged in a second way, or the disruptor bugged in a second way? I don't know. But we're still not quite over yet. Clem is absolutely on the ropes. He is in a lot of trouble. But he is holding on, and he just needs to actually get his command centers placed down elsewhere. I mean, it's more of a matter of attention than it is of ability at this point. Oh, Jesus. Of ability at this point? Because MaxPax can obviously warp in 1 DT and take down all these orbitals, but, you know, they're both so focused on the front lines. Clem, if he could, wouldn't I get that something down there? I guess there's now zealots every which way. So maybe not actually possible. Liberator harassment is cleaned up to the south. Scan on this Nexus feels like an oh shit scan to me. But Clem, I guess double-checking his supply, double-checking his command center count says now it's not quite game over. He does have +2 ship weapons on his Liberators, but they aren't sieged up. Protoss army is there, and it's more mobile with all these stalkers involved. Lots of frontline units going down. Clem losing a chunk of supply. Only 1 baseless command center, and I guess it got sniped or turned into an orbital. Probably should have left it base. I mean, I think he wins a planetary. DT is going in for the orbital is always going to be a disappointment. Opening up the opportunity for MaxPax to enter into the natural. Looks like he's a little shy about that. Presence of Liberators or a huge surround of army. A little too strong for him to try and get into the production line. Probably a very smart thing to do here. It would be awfully tempting to try and head into the production, but... His planetary is probably a goner this time. It's just all of the Protoss army, none of the Terran. Mass SCV repair not going to be good enough, especially without the upgrades on it. Which I still don't know if Clem realized that his upgrades were denied. Liberators are his only hope now. Can the Liberators win the entire game? That is the question. Immortals don't shoot up. That's all I'm saying. They probably cannot. DT's wrecking face back at home. Nathan Clem is all in can be. He's killed all of the Immortals, going after the last Disruptor. Stalkers gonna hold up against the Liberators, kind of. Yep, and deals with 2 of them, but not so much against the Marauders, which now Clem is gonna go for gold. It's the big gamble. It's the Doom drop into the main base. MaxPax sees this. He's got no recall, but he does have a heckin' big warp in. That is a lot of Stalkers, and that is all dead Medivacs. GG. Game number 2 is going to be on Site Delta. Bottom right's MaxPax, top left Clem. You're seeing some of the other maps in this 9-map pool for this best of 5. That's good. So yeah, kind of getting some confirmation that that's basically a second bug that we saw for the Immortal. Is it the most damning bug ever? No, I guess. But, you know, if a Disruptor shoots at its own Immortal pack, and 6 Immortals were supposed to have at least their shields popped, if not actually take damage. And it doesn't. Yeah, that's a pretty big... That's a real gift for Protoss right there. Who I would say 1 out of 50 games probably hit their own unit with Disruptor. 1 out of 200, 300 games hit something really bad with their own Disruptor. You know, it's not common, but it's not uncommon either. It's, and you could argue all day if you want whether Disruptors should friendly fire. That's a whole nother issue, but yeah, no, that's pretty big. So again, like the Immortal bug is that it's Hardened Shield. So they change it so the Hardened Shield, it doesn't, you don't take the damage from the first shot. So this was specifically helpful against EMP. But unintentionally, they made it so that basically the first shot and the Hardened Shield like is invulnerable almost. You cannot damage the Immortal while it's popped. You have to wait till the timer's down. It's a pretty quick timer, but still. And then the second bug that we just witnessed was a Disruptor shot not even popping a Hardened Shield. The test mod had the same bug a month ago, and now it's live. So someone told me that test mod had the Cyclone being bugged as well. Because here Marine played on it, and the Cyclone he was playing with was inaccurate. Are you suggesting that maybe the Cyclone right now is also still not correct? I mean, we definitely saw it we saw it get out of a tech labless factory though, so that's at least fine. Well, more discussion about that later. Currently in the game, you do have MaxPax going for an early Zealots. Now, it's not forward position, but I guess it is taking advantage of maybe a shorter map. If I had to guess, just looking at it. This is Site Delta, which has a 34.8 second rush distance. So actually, no, it's not one of the shorter ones. Still, of course, that's not the only reason that MaxPax does this opener. The Zealot leads to the Adept, which leads to the Stalker. So as long as it doesn't take 50 seconds for the damn things to get over across the map, you can find damage like this. And Clem losing a Marine is already worse for him than usual. The Reaper is so close to going down. 1 SCV already died. Oh, geez. Sorry, yeah, the Adept went down, so the Reaper's safe now. And the Stalker is coming in. Oh, sorry, second Adept. My bad. Stalker stayed at home. When there's already 3 units out again. So at least he killed the Reaper, which Clem's probably a little aggravated by. He needed that Reaper to go scout. He has no idea what the follow-up is. Excuse me. 1-1-1 setup for Clem as he does go into just straight up Cyclone into Widowmine. Now the Cyclone is it's a better unit. Stupid Cyclone. It's a better unit than the Hellion. It attacks, it shoots up and down, it's pretty good defensively, it's relatively cheap, it's the price of a Stalker now, guys. But what it doesn't do is scout, and that's a lot of what the follow-up Hellion does in this matchup. It's not just help against some of the earlier, Zealot Adept pressures, but it also goes across the map and tries to get a scout. This is a map in which that's probably not very likely. This is a particularly small choke in the natural. So, okay. But, yeah, the Cyclone doesn't help out with that. It is still, what, 25 more minerals, 50 more gas that, is actually helpful for the rest of the game compared to a Hellion. Yeah, okay. All right. I can see why Clem is experimenting with this opener. He also, in this game, doesn't know if his opponent's following up with the Stargate. So that could be another reason why he did this, but since he did it last game too, I think he is just experimenting with this as being the first factory unit. Yeah. So the Cyclone is correct now. That's good news, at least. What am I number 1? Not gonna get any damage. What am I number 2? Oh, it did actually get 3 probes, not just 1. So that's pretty good. And what am I number 2? Gonna be microed. MaxPax is 4-gating, guys, not just 3-gate. Second bunker, unnaturally late for Clem. Usually make sure to have that lickety split. And I think with the aggression and the amount of Stalkers, Clem now knows it is in fact a 4-gate. So this is now the time in which he decides, okay, he's not going to attack me anymore. We got to move on. I got to go for the counterattack. No, it is all about the defense right now. Fortunately, he is still producing tanks, but Second tank still not out. Cyclone is hardly helpful in the situation. It's more helpful than a Hellion. That's absolutely true, but I don't know if it's that much more helpful. The Stalkers are having trouble tearing down the bunker, though, and that's what you want to see as the Terran. That's what you're hoping for. Cyclone does help out, so excuse me. Cyclone helped kill one Stalker. Now the second bunker done and the second tank out. It does look like Clem is very close to finalizing his hold. Not enough SCVs that time around, though, and the second tank just immediately gets slaughtered. First tank was in range, however. Couldn't save its buddy, but it got some revenge for him. And one bunker, one tank might still be enough as Clem continues to bolster his bio counts. Also, barely save. Oh, just kidding. He didn't save it. Overall, that Woodamine drop did kill 8 probes, so that's actually decent. You want to save the medevac, of course, but not too bad. Get the great line of production, saving this tank's butt. However, the SCV line is looking awfully open for Stalkers. Raising their eyebrows. Stalkers. So some SCVs are going to go down. Probably even a similar amount to the probes that just went down. Cyclone's going to go down too. It is not, I think we'd all agree it's not as effective at dealing with warp prisms or oracles. It's one of the perhaps secret intentions of the Cyclone change, but we never got confirmation. Anyway, but it still is a more dependable thing to take care of a warp prism than a Marine. Unfortunately, both combat shields and stim will be denied. Half of the bio for Clem was in the wrong position. The other half was locked out by his own Sim City. To lose combat shields was okay. To lose both is absolutely terrible. Clem has some Raven auto-turret harassment once again, not bothering with the Raven interference matrix, which it really is a pretty cheap upgrade. I mean, okay, all right, fine. I know Clem's about to educate me about how 50-50 really is devastating, and it's it's a perfect patch. Perfect little addition, but yeah, still kind of surprised, because most of the follow-ups to anything Protoss are doing right now, Twilight Council openers, Robo openers, obviously, or Stargate openers, most of the follow-ups are Colossus. Some players experiment with Storm, which could be encouraged further in this patch, and some people still bring out a good old-fashioned like mass gateway attack, but it's very rare. So that's why I'm just a little perplexed by the lack of interference matrix upgrade. It still feels very worth it if you know that your Protoss opponent is going to go for Colossus. Just one woman's opinion, though. One that Clem does not share. I think MaxPax did show at least one follow-up Storm. No, he's definitely shown more than that. He usually follows up with Storm, though, when he's kind of screwed. If MaxPax's opener works out, he's like, Colossus are fine. If it doesn't, then he goes for kind of a gambly Storm follow-up. 11 probes just went down there. Clem's Woodamine drops, hoping to make up for his lack of stim and combat shields. Now, keep in mind, stim and combat shields both being denied is huge. It's very good for the Protoss, but it doesn't stop the production of bio. Eventually, that Terran will have their upgrades, and they will come to kill you. And it's just a matter of taking advantage of the time you were given. MaxPax's Zealot run by, unintentionally finding the army of the Terran. However, that just confirms that the Stalkers and the Warp Prism in the main can go ham. Stalkers took out the tank of the third medevac as well. SCVs too, and the Zealots in the main are going to run rampant. Clem is still walking his bio over to the other side of the map. Ay. They'll get there. Third CC is in trouble. No SCV is going to repair it. The blink on the high ground as well, thanks to the Colossus high ground vision, and the third CC is gone. We are in full base trade territory. Widowmines in the natural, the third base, do help. And the bio and the natural and main are starting to pierce through the Stalker defense. There's only one Colossus on the field, and that might not be enough to tear down the entirety of the army. Sign of an X-Core is gone. No more Stalkers or Sentries for you. Shield Bounty Overcharge only so helpful for probes. They're still dying. But here we come. Here we go. Colossus, where the hell are you? It wasn't recalled! Oh, no! Recalling pure Stalker up against the bio that's left in your base. That's always a little dangerous. Clem is able to evacuate, saving both all 4 medevacs. Narrowly escaping. He has a huge army back at home, and MaxPax looked like he had found a perfect timing But things just went too poorly back at home. He lost so much army trying to defend against that. 1-1 Baya with Medivacs healing is a hell of a lot to ask only Stalkers to defend against. One Colossus would have helped, but by the looks of the supplies, it still wouldn't have been enough. Even though that Colossus would have wrecked face when the bio was clumped up here, it probably still wouldn't have been enough. Just looking at the end results, the dust clears and Clem is absurdly in the lead. He's definitely got this. It was a little rough and tumble, that's for sure. Now that is it. Clem will tie up the series 1-1. Map number 3 will be Oceanborn. Top left, it is MaxPax. Bottom right's Clem. Oh, that was Slavanaka. At the end of the day, MaxPax's army, pretty terrible when split up. Pretty bad. So I pointed out in the last game, the first game of the day, I guess. Feels like that was the third game, not the second. Stalker Colossus, and a single Colossus at that, is really a vulnerable army. Regardless if the upgrades are even matched, which they weren't. MaxPax was down 2 upgrades. It's still pretty vulnerable. So it's the best thing he can do is abuse chokes and positioning and the range of the Colossus. And then, you know, it could be used beautifully like game 1. But MaxPax's best bet was to initiate that base trade. Well, not to, I don't think he wanted to initiate the base trade, to be clear. But rather, his best bet was to acknowledge the base trade, kill a 3rd command center like he did, and then recall all of his army together and kind of take things as patiently as possible. That would have cost him more in the main base, of course, and still not been good enough. At the end of the day, the resources available to both players, vastly different, because Clem was building from his production the entire time. Had the Warp Prism done a better job of actually camping production, like full hard start camping, so that Clem's only army was the army in MaxPax's main, well, that's a whole lot different, isn't it? But then you look back at the Terran army and there's like 40 units. Okay, yeah, okay. I see what happened here. All right. But yeah, MaxPax needed his whole army together, taking engagements where they were in control. And a base trade doesn't really encourage that. Sometimes it does, in some weird situations, but not that one. MaxPax forced to take his 3rd as his natural. Now, what is the 3rd on these new maps is a bit of a question, and apparently for MaxPax, and I think other Protoss have been doing this as well, the vertical 3rd. Am I the only 32-year-old that has to triple guess herself about horizontal and vertical? Hopefully not. Anyway, so the natural is blocked by the engineering bay. Clem is following up with a factory expand, but note the lack of second gas. It is the Hellion factory expand. Very much harassment, attack oriented, and MaxPax was able to see this. He is under no wrong conclusions that, oh, it's 1 gas, I can skedaddle. No. He knows. Oh, but it's a... No. I don't know if I like this. I like that it's different. It is time to experiment. But here's my conundrum. Either option A, the Cyclone instead of the Hellions is much better, and Protoss are bad against this, and they're in deep shit, which I don't like. Or option B, the Cyclones are comically bad, and MaxPax is like, why would you even do this? And then that also just, I think for me, kind of sucks. Like, the Cyclone does not win for me, just to be super clear. I am forever biased against it. There is no winning with this unit. It's either too good or too bad. Let's see which one. Shield battery certainly helpful. I'm certain MaxPax was expecting Hellions as a follow-up and was only a little surprised. He probably went, oh yeah, Cyclones. Oh yeah, cool, cool man, cool. Obviously the Oracle follow-up that usually accompanies the Hellion defense is worse against the Cyclones, and now I'm realizing what that conundrum is. Uh-oh. Oh no, Cyclones are good. Oh no, he's hot. Insert the goofy meme. Did Clem fucking do it again? Maybe. In the bottom right of Hard Lead, it is MaxPax. in the top left, abusing the Cyclone. How dare you? It is Clem. Don't pretend to be all cute with your little polar bear sticking his tongue out going blem. We know what you really are. You're the devil. Cyclones are the devil. Clem has to do it again. Clem has to tell us if it's broken or not. Damn it, he's not gonna do it again. Alright, well. You don't want to show that it's too good in a game that doesn't really matter all that much. I mean, there aren't even points on the line. You wanna hide that in your back pocket. The old prison wallet, actually. You wanna hide that right up in there. Wait until something really important. Well, MaxPax is going to be happy to see that his Nexus has not been stopped. So Nexus, it will be for you, good sir. Clem is going to go for a 1-rax expand. By the looks of it, legitimately. But the probe really wants to make sure that's the case, because if you can go into Cyclones off of a single gas opener, that does open a world of questions for the Protoss. Which at the end of the day, whether or not the actual Cyclone is broken or not, it certainly seems counterintuitive to the goal of the patch, which first and foremost was supposed to be to help this matchup. And then they just kind of like were like, well, why not do all this shit too? I don't know. Yeah, whether the Cyclone itself is great or not, it's another option for Protoss, and this is not me speaking this time around, although I think, I would have agreed with this. I've heard Nina was talking about this a bit and other Protosses. It adds a whole nother layer of unpredictability to the matchup, in the early game, obviously. And, Terran's, I think we can we all agree that Terran's kind of he's gonna proxy something? Good find by MaxPax. That Terran's probably the best race for dealing with things when things get screwy. I mean, base trades we lift, right? Or early game, we tend to be able to roll out of things a little bit easier because we can produce army and supply and workers, and we have a good mixture of medium quality, medium quantity units. Protoss is a race that has a very fragile opening because it has such high quality, low quantity units. So one kill on a unit is huge. One unit out of position is huge. One misread situation is huge. Zerg, because they want to min-max, could be both droning instead of armying when they're being all in, right? That's why they're vulnerable. So, anyways, explaining the basics of StarCraft 2, just to get at the point that this has been maybe one of the major concerns of the more mild-mannered Protoss who try and make do with a lot they've been given. Is that they're like, well, I don't know, it could be this, it could be that. I just, but, I'm not really looking forward to worrying about the Cyclone. And you're like, yeah, that's fair. That's fine. Because it is a new worry. It's a new worry to the mix. But it was a particularly aggressive opener from Clem, so we'll move on. It is going to be a bit of an aggressive opener from MaxPax, but a bit. 3 gates, not 4 gates. Clem has just opened his first 2-game opener. 1/1/1 Cyclones at a Hellion, and then in a single. What am I drop this time? Pylon's about the scout that. Well placed, but what a surprise! He's what am I dropping me? I'm not surprised. Question is more if the map allows for the medevac to stay stationary across this gap, and it does look like it will. There's a lot of black that's kind of questionable. I mean, I don't know what's really happening here, that it is happening. Yeah, don't do that. I mean, you should know he's scouted. War Prism is on the way, first Stalker as well. Raven and Tank Barracks are here. Again, not bothering with the interference matrix. Really loving that extra 50-50. Get it. Looks like MaxPax is investing the least to his early aggression so far in this series. Only the 4 Stalkers for the one shot of the SCVs in the Warp Prism. Otherwise, third Nexus, Robotics Bay. Robotics Bay first, in fact. MaxPax did build some Stalkers back at home, to be fair. More than some. But since they're not in the front lines, this really isn't concerning. Tank's very well defended. The bunker is kind of a ruse. I don't think Clem really cares if it goes down. Something that MaxPax at this point has picked up on. They understand each other, I think, is a good way to put it. MaxPax did win the game in which he did this opener and then defended Clem's follow-up pretty easily. We'll see if that happens again. Well, that third CC is not in a great place. Oh my god, he didn't cancel! It was already pretty bad to have 100 minerals wasted, and then he's lost 400. Well, we aren't expecting the finest play from these two at 4 in the morning, just to be clear. It's very late for them. And they both have some pretty pro-gamer schedules, some D-Gen schedules, I think, because they commonly play in the Open Cup America, but still. Even the most D-Gen 18-year-old gamer doesn't really perform the best at 4 in the morning. Something about how, like, our bodies have, like, been, like, evolved for, like, millions of years, like, some shit like that, you know? If you believe in evolution. Second Colossus is already on the way. Should be out before the army comes across the map. MaxPax is tracking it. He actually had a clumsy tracking in the first game, but still did wonderfully against the first push, so could be doing even better here. It was a different map, though. One in which, I guess, defensively it also looked a little better. Offensively looked great. He was really able to abuse the Colossus. But this is definitely different. We have less of a defensive third base. This is a wide open area for a concave. And this time the Ravens evolved with the army, but again, no interference matrix. Did he forget? It looks like he's thinking he can get one. Well, no, okay, auto turrets come down. All right, just making sure. Anti-air missile also would not be bad. The Raven's still a good spellcaster. He's trying to get kind of a concave, but realizing that army, whoo, is a bit of a goner if he continued, but tanks just shelled away on the blink forward alongside a Widowmine shot. That really turned sour for MaxPax, who's not holding this one in any way, shape, or form as good as the first game. Pylon, depowered shield battery, gateways, and Colossus. Widowmine actually went off, and we have was probably not going to be a very good break of the front lines. If it is a break at all, MaxPax in a lot of trouble. Most of his army away from the shield battery overcharge, and most of it already gone. 2 Colossus is really all that's left. With a single tank still up and running, you got that range. You have so much bio left over. The Cyclone taking the shots. 1 Colossus goes down. Warp Prism falls. No defensive micro, and the second Colossus might just be a little too late. Some of these Marauders very, very low. Going after the Colossus, they will find the second one. And now we get the individual pickups going on here. That third Colossus is going to be a savior of this game, but only temporarily. Fourth one being Corona boosted, liquid split. His Pylon did not power the 2 forward gateways. He's still missing one, and he really needs these gateways. He cannot spend all of his money. Ay. Once again, if this is a hold, it's a scrappy one. Down to 2 Zealots and a Colossus that will once again fall to the power of the Marauders, and it's a simple pick up and leave. MaxPax will not be recovering from this anytime soon. He's missing his Colossus, he's missing his Stalkers, he has nothing really to micro with. Clem is just rallying across the map. If MaxPax could have stopped this totally and entirely, he could have even chased some of the reinforcements. That would have been ideal. But Clem's read on the situation is perfect. He absolutely can win right here, right now. A body block of Stalkers is good there from MaxPax. He saves his 4th Colossus, but he is still in a whole heck of a lot of trouble. 8 probes have gone down. Colossus once again under fire. Stalkers unable to hold up against the Marauders' might. Armor upgrade about to finish for Clem, giving him further leads in these battles. Finally, the Zealot reinforcements will be good enough, as the number of units on the front lines for Clem is just too low to stop that from being overwhelmed. But Clem is in a wonderful position. 3 CC saturated, 1 upgrade just to the +1. MaxPax lacking map control, map presence, very few units that are actually microable. He had to give away so many Stalkers. 2 Colossus, that really is his lifeline. He has to basically hold position the Zealots and let the Colossus do all of the work for the next 90 seconds. And probably longer. Zealot run-bys are certainly the first way to get yourself back into a game, and the only map presence, map detection that MaxPax has is an Observer over the third. The reinforcements were there. Clem had stopped rallying across the map when he realized he wasn't going to snowball. He was very, very close to it, but the most important thing is that he read the situation correctly. He was right to push, and he was right to retreat. Fourth base is a necessity. What's the interstellar line? It's not possible, it's mandatory, something like that. That's actually a pretty good one. I need to get the correct line and use that more on my casts. Big science has been lying to us about evolution. We all know we started from the Protoss. This is StarCraft 2 is actually Battlestar Galactica, just reskinned. They're gonna go back to Earth and they're gonna find out. Wait, no, hold on. They're gonna go to the Protoss homeworld and realize that that's where our human civilization starts. Yeah. And the Protoss and the humans are gonna interbreed and create modern humans. I figured it out. For those of you who haven't watched Battlestar Galactica, spoiler alert! In the new one, anyway. Cylons and humans made Earth humans. Well, they mated with Earth humans, actually. Anyway, you know what? Moving on. MaxPax is pretty screwed, but the game's not over yet, so shouldn't get too invested into detailing Battlestar Galactica, even though I love it and hate it at the same time. Fourth base is up and running. Clem waited for more reinforcements. It's got a lot more medevacs, a lot more bio, but also ghosts. 5 ghosts. One less Viking. And Disruptor number 1 is not going to get a shot. Disruptor number 2 is out. That's kind of a concave, though, isn't it? Yep, didn't get anything. That is a lot of firepower. The Marauder's starting to go down here. Clem's a little... if he wasn't so far ahead, this would maybe be a little overzealous, but he is so far ahead. He is going to win the game, despite the Zealots and the DTs wrecking face back at home. I think. Clem has won the army fight once again, and will win this game and this series. 3-1. And a little bit of the Cyclone abuse. Great. Awesome. GG. Clem did not win the European Open Cup today, but he won the North American Open Cup. He still is a win away from taking over here, Marine's spot, but good result from him. And I'm glad we got to see the new maps and the new patch. Hope you enjoyed the cast, guys.